Okay, we're live. So good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. This is the House Republican Caucus. It is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026 at about 10:50 a.m. Just a few notes from our leadership meeting this morning. There'll be a public hearing this evening in room 11 from 5 to 7 p.m. Judiciary, I'm sure Joint Judiciary Committee will be meeting regarding Proposition 4. You want to say anything about that?
No, it's just equal rights stuff that we're putting in our Constitution. My guess is probably covered under the federal stuff, but it's, pretty much copying and, came out of the Senate 29-0, so it's not a, Heffernan didn't vote.
2901.
Yeah, 29-0. Oh, 1, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought you meant 29-1.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It just kind of codifies what the federal Constitution does.
Okay. And that's tonight.
Process in terms of
So this is the second year.
second year.
Yeah. And it's gone through the Senate and the House last year. And this year it's gone through the Senate. So this is the House one. And then in November, it will be on the general ballot for the citizens of the state to approve or disapprove of the language in order to change the Constitution. So kind of like a 4-year process to get to this point. Okay, the other issue that came up is just decorum in the chamber. I feel like a broken record, but the speaker mentioned people crossing the line of vision. There's that. If there's 3 people, if there's a person speaking, another person interrogating, and the speaker, it's a triangle. If it's a person speaking and the speaker, it's that line that you cannot cross. And it happened a couple of times last week. I saw a few of them. So just be mindful if you're coming in while somebody's speaking on the floor, you cannot walk in front of that invisible line between the speaker and the member speaking. And as you're all aware, once again, you need to look at the speaker because you're speaking through her to the rest of us. Don't just keep staring at the speaker when you're talking, even though you're interrogating, say somebody over here, you need to look at the speaker. Okay. And then on this Thursday at noon for all of the new members, which there have been 7 since last April, which I think is amazing. We've had this much turnover. The new members, there will be a kind of like an onboarding Thursday at noon. And if you have not gotten information, I'm sure Connor Kennedy from the Speaker's office will be in touch with those 7 new members. I'm looking at Jack, I'm looking at Val, Dave, and I don't see Camulia here. So we've had several here since then. Probably missed somebody too. And that's all I have from the Speaker's office. I'll save that. I'll say, yeah, I don't want to say
About
that
train day.
publicly. Oh, train day, yes. So cabaret is Thursday, but also is train day, which it happens behind the Capitol Plaza where the cabaret happens, but the train is there, I think, from like 4 on maybe. So if you want to go to the train for a few hours, then head over to cabaret. You're more than welcome.
And the freshmen that have never been to train day, great feedback. It really is.
Also, if they bring it's the older train, the Green Mountain trains, which are the green ones, and they also usually have the sleeper cars, which are really cool to look at. And then usually the last car has like a deck outside of it. You can stand outside. It is really cool. Anyway, that's what I have from the speaker. And then I just want to go over, there's two bills on notice that aren't going and not going to Ways and Means. One of them is S-157, which came out of Human Services 902. It's recovery resident certification. And Eric McGuire is here. If you can just speak a bit on that. Thought I saw Eric come in.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Just quickly, with the estimate, $157, it addresses the recovery residency certification and the protections. I'm really excited with this bill, and here's why. Being involved in the recovery field for so long. One of the things that is hindering in moving forward in a progression is the fact that they had to follow through with the landlord tenant laws. So this bill now exempts them from the landlord tenant laws and also puts greater supervision and oversight of the recovery houses with the Department of Health. They passed out of Act Committee 902. So it just really quantifies and clearly deciphers how they are supposed to operate, and also puts them in a position of where if they're experiencing difficulties in resident participant, where the impact influences the entire environment, they now have the capabilities of removing that without having to adhere to the landlord tenant laws. This really helps modernize the system and brings us all up to date of really how recovery houses and the system is supposed to operate. So no money attached to it, and again, passed out of the 19.
Okay, and then Bill Canfield, Ways and Means 11-0, no taxes or fees or anything.
Right.
Okay.
You said that the recovery houses are gonna be under the Department of Health now? Is that what you said?
They're certified through the National Alliance of Recovery Residency. They're not necessarily underneath the Department of Health, but the Department of Health, which DSU is under, is going to provide them some governance, support, and oversight and funding coming from there.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on that bill? And then the other one that will come up tomorrow, because S-142 has been shipped to Ways and Means, is S-239, which is the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Working Group, which passed out of Human Services again, 902.
Yeah, that's right, work group, go figure. It does establish this time limited working group to examine neglect mandatory reporting laws and practices. Just as really the working group is just all about just improving clarity, consistency, and effectiveness. It's not expanding any of the definitions or expanding what we call reporting obligations by mandating.
Okay, and then it went to appropriations and passed out 11-0, and no money, no program for it.
No, just for maybe a couple of people for meetings, but that's gonna be.
That's already another thing, yeah.
Meetings
Minimal.
budget.
And it came out of our committee on.
902. Yep.
If I voted for it, you know it didn't have money in it.
So, anyone have any questions on that one?
I would just clarify that one it's looking at the process before a child gets reported into the department to try to offer some consistency into what the mandated reporters are thinking about when they actually make this report, because apparently there's quite a bit of inconsistency in reports that go in, and then they look at them and they discover that several of them are not valid. They're not a valid reason for passing it along.
Okay,
So it's trying to get some more consistency and some training for people who do have to put in a report, so that we don't have a lot of stuff reported that indeed is not that critical, that does not need to go that far.
okay,
Yeah, that's correct. We have one of the largest or highest referral rates to the child welfare in the country. We are actually 3 times higher than the national average. So part of this work group is also to look at the BSA statutes 4912 and 4913, which lists who are required to be mandatory reporters, and also look at other levels of those statutes to really get it in order to why we are so high and referring.
anything else on those
17%.
I can't confirm or deny that, that's it. But, fact of the matter is, very high. And then, you know, sometimes those reports are falsely used, really can do a lot of damage on a person's life. You know what I'm talking about, Tom?
Anything else on that bill? Okay, so Matt Walker is going to talk about a section that is in the proposed DMV bill.
Well, there must have been an action alert or something gone out over the weekend, because I've heard from at least a half a dozen of you. In the miscellaneous motor vehicle bill S 326, section 29, the last add-on in the Senate before it came over from Senator White and Senator Harrison, with the third vote being Senator Perchlik. They put in this section on motorcycle inspections, and it is requiring that in a motorcycle inspection that every muffler would have to have the EPA stamp embossed in it or the sticker on it that shows it is EPA approved. And John Lyons from Harley Davidson was in to testify on Friday, saying it's redundant language. And this would also, that we already have the rules in the inspection process, also that it would significantly increase the time and energy to pull off these mufflers and get to the underneath them and be able to inspect them. In the committee, that it has or has not been determined whether they care about that or not, but we are going to need at least one or two Democratic votes to pull it out of the section, and that's what we're looking on it, but that's the current scenario, and that's why you're getting the action items that you, action emails that you are.
Is it the same standard for cars?
No.
There you go.
Definitely not.
No. No. I hear all kinds of great stories.
Somebody's got a
coat
noisy
hanger.
motorcycle in their neighborhood.
Man.
Joe,
Sure, I mean, to your point, Matt, if that requires like 45 minutes or an hour as a neighbor to be able to identify that and make some gaskets or what have you, you can end up paying a couple, $300 for inspection gas for a motorcycle.
And that is certainly the concern, especially if you are driving it for any length of time and the road and the grime and the issue of whether it's still there and advisable, you have to take the guards off to get underneath it. I'm not a motorcycle person.
Beyond
But
that,
that's
you have to inspect something that new is in. So that would add to the dealer's cost when they're.
So-
Add to the new bike.
it would make that a fail. If they can't identify it, then it would make it an automatic fail.
My guess is it's like other pieces of inspection law, they're gonna take a picture of that and send it through the portal. So,
That would be determined. The DMV testified that they were against this section, but they testified that in the Senate and it's still in there.
Jim,
And he also testified that not all bikes have stamp on them. Sometimes it's just a sticker, sometimes it's nothing. And like I had said in committee, you can go, you can have your baffles out of your pipes, to the right pipes, you take them out, ride around all year until inspection time, put them back in there, get it inspected, and then take your baffles back out afterwards. It's just, there's already a law in place.
I see the two of you sitting next, two Harley drivers in our committee have plenty to say.
Good job, Jim.
I'm not, it's up to you. There's other questions out there. Oops.
oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I have, and some of them are antique motorcycles, some of them are newer, but for those like me that like it's more exotic, I have a Euro, which is a Russian sidecar motorcycle. I know it meets EPA standards because it was imported into the country, it's available for sale in California, but anything on there is written in Russian. Do we have anybody that they can read Cyrillic languages before they bail my motorcycle?
There's an interpreter in the bill.
I'll ask one of the senators.
I mean,
Put an ag plate on it, you don't have to worry about it.
That could help keep the quality of conversation high.
Okay,
We're spiraling.
Right.
There you go.
Anything-
Representative Dickinson.
Dick.
Yeah, does this have an impact on government antique,
The nice thing about an antique plate is it has a different set of requirements, and you generally do not have to pass the EPA emissions portion to get an antique plate.
Same with cars.
But then you can only drive it on a limited basis.
Same with cars. Yeah,
And for people like me that don't register their motorcycles as antiques, because we want to be able to ride them.
Oh, right.
Whenever we choose to, unlimited mileage, there's a problem on those too.
And unlimited mileage just makes me think about, don't you worry, we've got a mileage base, use your feet, coming to.
anything else on any other bill or any other issues in committees? No,
I have a question. There's a bill coming in our committee today that has $150,000 attached to it. How does, I'm new, so you guys will know the answer. How does that work when it's past the budget time and everything? The chair said she could find the money, but where do you find the money after budget? I need to learn about this stuff, because it's coming in committee today and I don't want to speak up.
we've passed bills in the past that have no money attached to them with the hope that there might be surplus at the end of the year that they could use.
No, she
Could
said
be
she
money.
probably could find the money somewhere,
Wow.
but where do you find the $150,000?
Nail her down to where?
Okay, it's coming today.
Inside the agency.
It's for the debt. But
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean, but where do you get it?
You have the right to know where it's coming from.
Okay, I'll ask today then when I come home.
There,
Thanks.
there was money on the bottom line of the House version of the budget, but that went to the Senate. And I think the Senate has spent most of what was on the bottom line. So it'll depend upon the budget back to the House, or it depends on when the Senate already has their version. And then we'll have to look at the House.
Is that how it works?
There may be money left on the bottom line, or the Caucus committee may create money on the bottom line by changing things up above.
So,
Or there, as Patty says, if they put it in the bill as being contingent for funding, that means after the whole year is closed, and they close the books on June 30th, and they say, oh, we do have, $500,000 of extra money that we didn't count on.
it is a Senate bill.
Then,
Spend it.
so maybe the Senate has their version of the budget, which we will see when it comes back.
Right, so if it's new money, that's kind of what the
No.
process we look at here, or if it's already in somewhere else currently.
So how do you vote on something like that when it
Well,
comes
we-
out of committee, not
we ask
knowing
those
whether
questions.
the money's gonna be there? How do you obligate $150,000 without even knowing? I don't.
You can ask the question, like Marty said, it may
Yeah.
have been included in the Senate's version of the budget.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's
that's the
the question.
Ask that question.
Ask where would it be potentially coming from?
Yes.
Okay,
Is it new money, or is it already monies like Eric's comments about the bill that went through there? There may be a little bit of money that needs to be done, paid out here, people attending meetings, but it's already in the current department's budget.
okay.
It's not.
I know what to ask now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay,